Hi everyone, well we are painting leaves, beautiful watercolor leaves today. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that the 2023 Thankful Home project is available to you. This one takes about an hour to do, so it is on my website. It's in 3 parts. It's a wonderful project to just really reflect on the gifts of this past year and all that we have to be thankful for and paint a really cute autumn scene. So that's available. I have the link below, but let's get started painting. So I've got 3 paintings today, and I was collecting some leaves the other day. You can see here what we're doing, and just really having fun painting these gorgeous, gorgeous leaves. So a little bit of splattering, a little just to create the energy and the movement. I have also done a couple of just sketches right here. I pulled my leaves in. I was going to put them between wax paper and then they dried out too fast. So I'm going to have to go get more leaves, but aren't these just gorgeous? So I encourage you on your walks to find some beautiful leaves to paint. These are really a fun project. They're very, very loose. I did some very loose sketches. I'm going to go ahead and use my favorite fall colors to create the gorgeous shades that I see in here. It is a nice cool day here in New York. I'd love to know where you are possibly watching from today. I was hoping the sun was going to come out. I've been waiting for it. It's hiding behind a cloud right now, so I thought, well, we have enough light to get going here. But I do really love when the sun comes out on these really cold days. They are definitely getting colder and chillier. So you can see I've got a yellow ochre here, and you could use any sort of yellow you want. Maybe not a lemon, that might be too much. But a cadmium is going to work really nicely because we're going to add some brown. So if it wasn't quite deep enough, we're going to deepen it up. I'm going to go ahead also and just do a little bit of splattering. In fact, I'm going to splatter kind of around on the other paintings too. Every single leaf is going to have a different emphasis on the colors, but we're going to use very similar colors. And one of the reasons I really, really love the fall palette is that most of the time, all the colors merge together really, really beautifully. So I'm going to drop in some burnt sienna here, making sure you can see that, and I'll bring it, come in just a little bit closer. And you can see too how the paint really just starts to do its magic here. I'm going to put a little bit of brown down here, that burnt sienna. I'm going to pick up just maybe a little bit of gamboge, and I'm going to drop it in another corner. And because we did that sketch earlier, it holds the shape nicely. I'm just going to do some more splattering. And then I'll come back to this one in just a little bit. I'm going to, again, maybe just put a little bit more right in the middle of the spine of the flower, or the leaf, not the flower, the leaf up here, and just let it go out and move around and mix with some of the shades of yellow. Okay. I'm going to go over here to this guy who was kind of crawling off the page, and he had beautiful yellow and even a little bit of green. I'm not going to add the green in because sometimes, well, actually maybe I'll do just a little bit. I have a sap green on my palette. Green can be a bit, it could just blend with, if you use it with reds, it's going to make brown. So just be cognizant of that if you have green and red on the paper. But I'm going to go ahead and lay down that yellow. I am going to do patches of sap green in a couple places. And the sap green, if you have not played with sap green, it really is gorgeous. I'll put right a little bit in here. It's a beautiful autumn green. So it has that almost warm hue to it. Very, very pretty. I'm going to pick up some gamboge as well and let that go ahead and dry in here a bit. And just move that around. Move the green over here just a little bit. And you can see I'm not trying to color in per se. I'm really dabbing color onto the leaves. Keeping the colors pretty loose. I've got some cadmium yellow. I'm going to dab that in there. I'm going to actually add in some more water and wet this up just a little bit. And then I'm going to drop some color. And we'll see how those colors merge on here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop a little bit of, I'm going to put a little bit of the alizarin crimson in just up here at the top. Just right around it, and I'll even put a little bit by the green. I'm not too bothered in this one if it turns brown, right? Because these leaves have a lot of brown in them as well. I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna grab some raw umber, which is a pretty dark brown. You might want to mix it with some burnt sienna. It's definitely a bolder brown. I'm gonna go ahead right up the spine of the leaf up here and move it down here as well. And move this around up here. I'm going to come now back over to my brown, pick up some more brown, and I'm just going to do some splatters. Those are a bit bolder. I'll put some over here too on the leaf itself. And then what I'll come back and do is I'm going to pick up again some more of that yellow and just set that on top and really let the color start playing. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the leaves is you pick them up and examine them and you just see all the colors. And if you have it for a couple of days, you see those colors change too, right? I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that sap green. I'm going to just do a little bit of splattering right over here. And then I'm going to let that go. I'm actually just going to let it sit there. Maybe I'll put a little bit of yellow right on top of it. A little bit of brown. But we're going to just let that merge and play. So that has a different look than this one, doesn't it? You can tell the different colors, and yet they all look like they belong together. So on this guy down here, who really dried in a beautiful, beautiful red. It's a dark red brown. We're going to focus on those colors. So I'm going to pick up the alizarin crimson. I will be adding a little bit of yellow, but I'm going to go ahead and go down on the stem or that spine of the leaf and also start working up. You'll notice that there's a lot of little sharp edges on the side of the leaf that I went ahead and just sketched in with the micron pen. You could also maybe grab a smaller brush, so that's a size 2, and I'm going to pick up my size 2 brush, and I want to add maybe a little bit more detail. So on this one, I am wanting to capture that detail with the edge of the brush. And just moving that back on down here. That looks really, really nice. Just kind of keeping that going here. Now, I'm going to pick up some brown. I'm going to pick up some of the burnt sienna. And I may have gotten a little bit of raw umber in there, but I think it's mostly burnt sienna. And I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to almost get a little bit more wet and bring it just all the way down, and then start feathering it out into the surrounding areas. Now I want to go bold because you can see how bold this leaf is. So I'm going to pick up some more red. I'm going to get a lot of red paint on my brush. And I'm going to go nice and bold. Isn't that nice? It's bold, but I love it. That really bold red. And it's not the fire engine red, right? Because that fire engine red that comes really with Christmas time, this has a warmth to it. And if you feel like, let's just say you had a cadmium red, and which is really that fire red, that fire engine red, Christmas color red, just add brown to it. And the brown will warm it right up. So there's a lot of variety in your palette. You don't have to go out and buy new colors of paint. It is so tempting though, right? I sometimes will just stare at all the paints on the rack. I try to keep a limited palette, at least for a season. So that way the colors really sing harmoniously when I use them. And it helps me to be creative too in getting to know these colors really well and working really, they really do sing very nicely together when we have fewer colors on the palette. Okay, so I'm going to do some splatters right down here. I'm actually going to put a little bit of yellow. I'm going to put a little bit of gamboge actually up in the corner up here. Just so I want it to pop a little bit into the depth. I want to create some depth within the painting. Okay, and this in here, probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some raw umber. The paint, there's a lot of, it's pretty heavy with wetness. Wetness, is that a word? Wetness. It is in my vocabulary. The wetness factor here that we've got going on. So what I'll most likely do is I'm going to come back in and do another layer. because otherwise it does get a little bit messy and gets like a bit of that water stain look. So I'm going to just create some edges. I do love that depth. I think that's really nice. And I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm going to come back. I'm going to add just with this color a little bit of depth right here at the base of this guy. And I'll put some more splatters right there, which I think is really nice. So let's go over on this guy too. Let me back up here. I never really used any orange. So if you wanted to use some orange, you could either mix some of that alizarin crimson or a red and a yellow, you mix them up. But if you had like a cadmium, just so you can see what that looks like, it really is beautiful. It's a more opaque color though. So if you do have that one, it'll come in sets a lot. Just know it doesn't always, it can tend to take over sometimes some of the other colors and doesn't merge quite so well. That's not a big deal though, I think, when we're using with our leaves. So this is what that looks like, and that's just that. This is a light cadmium orange. But it does have a nice pop, right? It kind of adds a little bit of a brightness without, but it's not springy. It's not a spring brightness, it just gives you a little bit more of that autumn, what I call like that burnt orange look almost, or a little bit of that pumpkin. And you can always add brown if you want to darken it up, or even just examine the colors of the leaf and see if you can try to match the colors. My leaves right now have dried out. I just picked them up yesterday, but they dry out fast, and I'll just do some splatters. And that's about it. But aren't these, you can see how you could really just get caught up with making all sorts of leaves, all sorts of colors. I'm going to send these out in some envelopes, some letters that I'm mailing this week. They're just fun to make for bookmarks. The other thing is, if you wanted to, I had taken a 4x6 and halved it, and this is a 4x6 here. You could always, this is one of the pads I'm using, you can just, you could paint on half of it, like take your tape and half it so you only paint on one side, and create really cute name cards for like Thanksgiving, or if you're having any sort of like fall gathering, and then paint leaves and the person's name. It might be super cute. So just an idea, if you really get carried away and then think to yourself, what am I going to do with all these leaf paintings? I mean, bookmarks, decor, I think the possibilities are endless. And look at this. It's not even quite 15 minutes yet, and we've already done 3. It's just so much fun, and there's such a beauty in fall leaves. It's the big hurrah before saying goodbye, and they do it absolutely beautifully. I like to take one more look, and I think, oh, I kind of almost ignored that side of my little leaf over here. So I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to add a little bit more color down here, add a little bit more gamboge, just a little bit over there. I will come back on this guy and do a little bit more detail. I might even take a micron pen. You can always do that and add in more of the little the ventricles and the arteries of the leaves. All right, you guys, well, I hope you enjoyed. I will see you soon. Have a wonderful fall week.